Onirim was designed by Shadi Torey and published by InPatience as a solitaire or a two-player cooperative card game where the players are all dream walkers who have found themselves lost in a mysterious labyrinth, and it's your job to try to play cards to deal with nightmares and find all the doors to try to escape the labyrinth before your dream time runs out. Otherwise, you will be trapped in the labyrinth forever. Now, for full transparency, there are two different editions of the game, and I'm going to be talking about the second edition. The base game is the exact same for both of them. It's just that the second edition comes with 7 mini expansions, while the first one only comes with 3, and I'm not going to be talking about any of the expansions in this review. I am not also going to be talking about the 2-player version of this game. I'm just going to be talking about this as a solitaire game in the base game alone. If you want to know my thoughts on the 2-player variant or these 7 mini expansions, don't worry, I'll do a separate video explaining how all of that works and my thoughts on all of it. So with all that said, what are my thoughts on Onirim? Let's find out. The theme of the game, where the players are dreamwalkers wandering through a labyrinth, dealing with nightmares while trying to find the doors to try to escape, is completely pasted on. At no point in any of my experiences with this game have I ever felt like I was wandering through the labyrinth trying to find a door while dealing with nightmares. It was just playing cards to try and get 3 of the same color in a row just to unlock a door. But thankfully, because it is just a deck of cards and the game revolves around how the cards are played, the pasted on theme won't actually get in the game's way. The components for the game are fine. There's nothing really to write home about. Like I said, this is just a card game, but I will say those cards do work well. The symbology on the cards are incredibly easy to see. The suns, the moons, and the keys, they're all black symbols over a white background in all 4 of the corners of all of the cards, so you shouldn't have any issues with seeing that. I also really like what they did with the black little piece that comes with the game. I believe it's called the Incubus. They did a really good job with producing it, even though it does absolutely nothing in the game whatsoever. It's literally just a decoration piece as far as I can see, but even so, it looks very nice. The one thing I really want to go into detail about, however, is actually the artwork on the cards. This is something I don't talk about very often in games because I know that artwork is incredibly subjective, and I'm not even talking about like whether I think the artwork in this game is bad or not. Like I said, that's a subjective thing. But I do think that the artwork actually provides a good favor to those who are colorblind. You might have noticed that on the door cards above each of the various doors in the colors, each color actually has a different symbol above their door. The green has a flower, the red I think has a globe, the blue has a fish, and the brown has a book. And if you look on the cards for those various colors, you'll actually notice that the artwork actually depicts that very exact symbol for each of those colors. The green cards have flowers depicted in the art. The blues have fish depicted in them somewhere there. The browns have something to do with books written all over the card. The reds have something to do with globes. And you'll also notice that throughout these cards, the depictions of whether or not they're a sun or a moon or a key is actually depicted in the artwork as well. For example, on this card here, the blue sun, you can actually see a sun surrounding a fish on the bottom of the card. So if you remember that fish means blue, you can look at that and say, oh, this is a blue sun. Whereas on the brown moon, not only do you see the books that are flying throughout the room on that card, but on the books you can actually see a moon etched into the books. Likewise, on the green key, you'll notice that if you look on the cards, there are not only just flowers sprouting all over the area, but there are also keys literally growing out of a bush. Whereas in the red key looks nothing of the sort. It looks more like a space depiction of the image. There is a globe literally just sitting on the bottom of the picture, and keys are just dangling off a little post as if it's a model of the solar system. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to help everybody who's colorblind be able to depict which card is which, but the fact they went as far as to include a symbol for each color and have those symbols depicted in the artwork for the cards should help a little bit. Overall, like I said, nothing to write home about, but they are fine. The game is also very easy to teach. On your turn, you either play a card or discard a card. You're trying to play the cards in a certain way so that you can get 3 cards in the same color in a row to try and unlock a door, but you can't play those cards with the symbols with being the same symbol back to back to back. Regardless of whether or not you play or discard, you draw a card again to fill your hand back up. If you draw an ordinary card, you get to keep it. If you draw a door, just discard that. Draw another one, and then shuffle that back in. If you draw a nightmare card, you have 4 different ways to deal with it. You can either discard a key in your hand to discard the nightmare. You can discard your hand to deal with it. You can flip the top cards, or the top 5 cards rather, of the draw pile to the discard and deal with it that way. Or if you already have a door open, you can take that door, shuffle it back into the deck, and you'll have dealt with it that way. The most complex part of this game is actually the key cards, and that's because the keys actually have 3 different uses. You could, one, like I said earlier, if you draw a nightmare card and you have a key in your hand, you can use that key, discard it, and that deals with the nightmare. You can also use the keys as like a wild card for the color that it is. For example, if, let's say in my hand, I had 2 green suns and then a green key, I could potentially then have it to where I could play the green sun, a green key, and then a green sun again, and I would be able to unlock the green door without having to wait until I got a green moon in my hand. And then the other thing that the keys can do is that if you want to have a little bit more control of what cards come up, you can discard that key on your turn at any time, and then you could just look at the top 5 cards that are coming up. You discard one of them no matter what, and you then reorder the rest of them however you like. So if you discard the key and then you draw the 5 cards and there's a nightmare in there, you can discard the nightmare without even having to deal with it at all, which is very nice and can really help you to kind of plan what's going to come up later on and kind of set yourself up for some future turns. Hey, Editing Lou here. I just wanted to pop in and let you all know that there was actually a 4th way that you could use the keys that I completely forgot to mention. When you have a key in your hand and you go to refill your hand and you end up drawing a door that actually matches the key, you can either choose to discard the door like usual, or you can discard the key to automatically open the door. Just wanted to point that out to you all so that way you didn't actually miss anything that was important. And now back to the video. And then if you manage to get all 8 doors, you win. If the deck runs out, you lose. Like I said, overall, very easy to teach. The gameplay, for being just a simple deck of cards, I think actually works really well. I very much enjoyed the fact that because of there being 4 colors that you need to get 2 doors each from, and the fact that you have those key cards, and the fact that you have these cards that you really don't know entirely how they're going to show up, it really does give you a good amount of decisions that you're going to have to make throughout the game. Whether it's maybe what color should I go for first based on the cards from my hand, or in general, what color should I go for? Should I try to keep the keys to keep it as a wild so I can help find the door? Or maybe should I discard it to try and control what cards are going to show up? Should I try to go for a certain color now because I have this card? Or should I wait to try and get more cards that match that to fill my hand back up? Should I discard these cards because I don't need them anymore? Because if I do, what are the chances of another nightmare showing up? If I have a nightmare show up, is it worth giving up a door trying to find it again just to deal with a nightmare? And it's just the little decisions like that that really give the game its strong appeal for me. The only real negative thing I actually have about the gameplay is the fact that there is a ton of downtime. This is really just a nitpick here, but there is a lot of downtime in this game, mostly revolving around having to reshuffle the deck. Every time you have to refill your hand after discarding your hand and you draw a nightmare or a door, you have to put those back in and reshuffle it again. Every time you draw a door and when refilling your hand and you don't have the key, you gotta put it back, reshuffle it again. And I found myself just shuffling the deck, well, heck, a lot throughout my playthroughs of it. That's just a really minor nitpick I have with it, but I can see how it could be a little bothersome because it can drag the game out a little bit. Speaking of game time, the game doesn't necessarily take long even with the downtime. The box says 15 minutes, and I think once you know what you're doing, you'll probably have 15 to 20 minute games in somewhere around there. And if you do get a lot of downtime, it would probably, I would suspect, around 20 to 25 minutes would probably be a good safe spot. But even then, for some people, that still wouldn't be very long. In terms of tactics and strategy, it's kind of hard to say that if there is or isn't any here. I can say with confidence that there is some tactics in regards to how you can play the cards, but it's not inherent. You know what I mean? It's not like going straight into this game, you're going to have this predetermined strategy of how you're going to go about collecting the cards and playing them in order to get the doors open. It's more of, like I said in the gameplay, with the way that the cards come up, is really going to help you make those decisions of when to play this, when to do this, when do I discard that key, when do I use this card to, or what cards do I use, what color do I go after, that type of thing. So like I said, there is some tactics here, but it's not inherent. In terms of replay value, there is a good amount here. Like I said earlier, the game does not take very long, and because it is just a deck of cards, you can just shuffle it up, draw a hand of cards, and you just play. You don't have to do all this big setup, put this big board out and all that. You can just bring out the deck, draw some cards, and start playing right away. And because the cards are most likely always going to come up in a different order, which leads to different decisions being made through different games, which means there is going to be a lot of replay value there. Overall, I really found Onirim to be a very, very nice little solitaire kind of game. Whether or not it would work as a two-player co-op game, like I said, that's going to have to wait for a whole other discussion. But I very much enjoyed it as a solitaire or little card game. Just something to sit around, de-stress, shuffle cards, and just play a little something on my own. Don't need to worry about getting a group of people together if I wanted to play a game by myself, or if I really just wanted to play a game in general and there was nobody here around to play with me, I would bust out this game and just play it for a little bit. And if that's something that you're interested in, you're looking for a game that you can just play on your own, don't need to worry about gathering a group of people to play, or maybe just something to just sit down, relax, don't need to worry too much about what's going on, and just play a game on your own, I would definitely look into this. I'm going to give Onirim a 7.5 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Onirim. With all that said, I want to know, what are your thoughts on Onirim? Let me know in the comments and maybe we can have a discussion. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to know my thoughts on other games, or if you just want more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all as always so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.